This is the Dove Lady with another happening in my life that I want to explain to you about because it had meaning. Now, in the background, you'll hear noises because my room is right next to my grandson's room, and I'm not about to tell him he can't laugh and talk with his friends, so that's going to be a little bit in the background. What I want to talk to you about is some visions that my own son had when he was young. And it was that he had 4 visions right in a row. And he was telling myself and his younger sister about them as they were happening. And it was just most remarkable. Now today he's an older person and he doesn't really like talking about those visions. But they meant so much to me, and I think they have a meaning for the rest of the world too. So I'm going to tell you what the visions were, and then I'm going to read you a poem that I wrote concerning one of the visions. Now, the first vision that he had, he saw a pyramid, and on either side, 2 sides of it, he saw hands. And some of the stones in the pyramid were coming out, and the hands would put mortar on them and place them back into the pyramid. Then this continued to happen. One after another would come out, and the hands would slap mortar on them and shove them back in. And then he saw some of the stones coming out of the pyramid that didn't need the help of the hands, but on their own put themselves back in, even without mortar. They would just go in on their own. And he said the top stone never moved. All those under it would move, but not the top stone. And I thought that was beautiful because I could see that cornerstone, the top stone, being what represents the Christ consciousness. Then right away he had another vision, and this time it was of a garden. And the garden was overshadowed with so much shadow that it wasn't as beautiful as it could be. And so he saw these hands pulling weeds out of the garden in their effort to make the garden beautiful again. But the hands came across a weed that was humongous. It was so big, it towered over the entire garden, and the hands were unable to pull it as easily as the smaller weeds had been. And so the hands were joined by 2 feet and a shovel. Now just imagine this. Hands, feet, shovel, all working to get that one huge weed out of the garden. And they were digging it up, and my son was saying, it's important that we get every bit of the root of this huge weed. And between the 3 that were working that, the hands, the feet, and the shovel, they got the entire root out from that big weed, and the whole garden was bright and beautiful again. And then immediately after that one came another vision, and this one was of about 7 heavenly bodies in the sky. You could see them, like out in space. And some were real bright and some were real dim. But there was a ball of light that would go to each one and light it up that was about to go out. And some it had to go back to several times. And it kept going from one to the other to relight them until eventually all of them were lit as bright as they could be, and they stayed that way. I thought that was beautiful. And the 4th vision that he had that day was of a seashell, and that is the one that I wrote this poem about. But I will briefly tell you what this was about, and then read the poem. He saw a seashell that was out of reach of the waves, and the sun was bearing down real hot, and the little creature that lived inside the shell was too weak to walk and carry himself into the water to get revived. So he said, I'm afraid it's going to die of thirst, of dehydration. Only he didn't say dehydrated. He didn't know that word then. But anyway, the wonderful thing is the tide came in, picked up the little seashell, carried it out a little bit into the ocean, rolled it around, revived it. And when it was revived, he could see it again, able to walk in and out of the waves under its own power. And I thought, well, that is the most beautiful vision. How could he have had these visions? So I talked to the person who was the head of the church that I went to, which was a Pentecostal church in that day. And he said to me, well, kids make things up. And that wasn't the answer I was looking for. I tell you, that was not the answer. Because in my mind, I don't see how he could have made up such. And when he was telling me these visions, he said it felt like cool water was falling on him and cooling his body off. And so I believed at that time that those visions were very special, and they might have a meaning that would come into being in another day. And now it's been years and years, 20 or more years since that time. And during the process of that time, I did write a poem. Back in 1998, I wrote lots of poems back then. And this one was concerning a message from the seashell. And I will read it, read all of this poem. My son Steve once had a vision of a seashell lying on the sand just out of reach of the waves. He saw that it had a creature inside of it which was dying of thirst. So he was concerned about the survival of this creature. But the tide came in and picked up the creature in its shell. And when last he saw it in his vision, the creature inside its shell was strong enough to go in and out of the water of its own strength. I was looking at cards and came across a picture of an empty seashell on the beach near the waves. It inspired the following poem. A message from the seashell. Once you saw in a vision a creature in a seashell out of reach of the waves. And dying, you thought, for it was thirsty, and the water did not come close enough to give him life, and you thought that he would die, and you were a little worried. But you know, there comes the tide pushing back the seashore, and it would reach that thirsting soul as it has done. So look now at the seashell. Empty looking, you might say, for you see, this soul has soared, and it only looks like it's not there. All one can see is this beautiful shell. And someone will come along, walking down the beach, and find you and pick you up and think you beautiful, because you have left. And yet, you are here. You're still in flesh and blood, but your spirit's free, and it does climb to tell the moon to send the tide, for the tide, you know, it will revive other thirsting, precious ones still carrying on inside their shells, feeling burdened and oh so bound, for they are earthbound, walking around. So many of them haven't found a way of living in the present, in this holy instant now, the only place that you can really be and where you're free. For past you do not know of, and future does not concern you, for now is all that matters to you anymore. For I can see, and you have taught me, to live in the now. It's where you are being anyhow, to just be present, be here now, to stop the worried, anxious fears about yesterday and tomorrow, and just relax, and just let yourself flow, and get caught up in the sea. And as a drop of water there, we each will vaporize and drop out all our impurities as higher and higher we ascend. And we're collecting in the sky, enough of us, and we will have critical mass, or cloudburst, so we can descend again, purified and giving life as water does, to all of God's plants on earth. for they are all a planting of the Lord. No matter what they believe, no matter how they behaved. And it is our joy to give them life by helping them to grow. And yes, they will know how to leave their beautiful shells all over the place. For this, you see, will heal the human race. End of poem. Maybe I've got a little time to read you another poem. Let me look through here, see which one speaks to me that it wants to be read. That one I just passed is way too long. Oh. Okay, I will read to you my happy song. I am so happy, happy, happy each and every day. I feel no more the hopelessness. My life is far from empty. I am never, never lonely, for I am always talking to and hearing from the God inside of me. And God is always saying, there's so much that you can do. And at first, when God said this to me, well, you see, I could not agree. I would say, look at me. I'm not doing anything that is so spectacular. I'm writing a book and writing some poems, but very few I show them to are very impressed at all. And I had hoped that they would fall in love with every word I said. But God has shown me that I should not have any expectations. I give the message, that is all. And after that, I turn it over to Spirit. I am just the messenger. No one should need to worship me because I said such and such. It's the message that I care to make known. But I guess I was sort of thinking, I should be famous, I should be rich. Then I would know that I was really special. But God inside showed me, you are special, but so is everyone. You are chosen, but so is everyone. And you are rich in ways you do not yet fully appreciate. And you are famous, for you have the ear of God. I still have problems in my life, the same as everyone, but now I seem to just float above them somehow, as though I were detached and only looking at a movie. I have a different vantage point. I'm not so much in my own way. And now I can really get to work, except now work is fun. And fun is something I think is soon to be pure bliss, and I'm happy now. That's my happy song. In 1998, a lot of poems just started flowing through me, and I'm really not a poet. But during that year, they came by the dozens. Let's see if there's another one. Oh, here's one that a lot of people like that I read it to. I called it A Mockingbird's Message. And since I have a little time on here, I will read you that. A mockingbird woke me up last night around 12 o'clock, and I wondered how it could be that he would sing so late at night, so I went out on my porch to listen better. Why wasn't he asleep? Why must he carry on, singing that way when it was day would be all right? But it was night. What was so important that it sang its song, doing all the bird calls of other birds all night long? There must be a message here. He wants to make it clear. There is a reason, a purpose for everything. What does a mockingbird do? Why, he makes the sounds of all the other birds. And what are all the other birds doing when they sing? I think they must be praising their Creator in the only way they know. Each one has a different song, but they are all singing praises to the same. And now the mockingbird knows to honor all the other birds, and so he sings his song the way they do. Oh, let it wake you up. Sure, you want to sleep, but it is time for you to wake at night, for when it is dark, then you can see the light you didn't notice in the day. I know what the mockingbird is saying. Look, we are all the same, though we all sing different songs. Come on, let's all respect each other's song. So, Sing your song tonight, sing with all your might, no matter if they fuss and gripe. Soon it will be their delight to wake up too and see, really see in the darkness. They will see what you have done. They will join you in the fun, for there is so much that they can do to heal. For when we realize we are all the same, we can take away the pain of separation. We will sing every song, a pure language we will know. Thank you, Mockingbird. You said it beautifully. So glad you awakened me. I hope that others too might see. And thus I will end this session of reading poems and talking about visions, except to say this one thing that comes from the Bible is it's very good. It's called, the words go like this: without a vision, the people perish. I wrote another poem about that. I called it just, let me see if I can find it real quick. I called it Just Wishful Thinking. I don't have it memorized, my own poems. I have so many of them here. Okay, here it is, and it's a short one. It's actually a short one. Simply wishful thinking, is that all it is? And what is wrong with it if it is a wish? Wishes can come true if you learn to wish without worrying. It's the 3 big W's. Wish without worrying. Worrying about the wish cancels out the wish. Without a vision, the people perish. We perish without a wish. A secret about wishes is that you have to get out of the way. You have to let it happen, but not with your own might and your own power. It's like a tiny piece of down drifting in the air. If you reach for it, no matter how slowly, you disturb the air where it floats so gently down. You push it further away from you when you use your effort of reaching for it. So you simply have to be in the path it takes in coming down, and open your hand, and it will fall right in your opened hand. But we are prone to make the effort. We just can't wait, you see. So we throw in the monkey wrench and stop the flow of what could be. Now, I want to make an explanation about not by might and not by power. That's in the Bible. There is a scripture that says, not by might and not by power, but by thy Spirit. Because we use our own might and power, and sometimes we're not being led by the Spirit when we use that might and power, and things don't happen the way we would like them to happen, when we think that our might and our power is going to get the job done. Okay, here's another poem right on the other side of the page, and I will read that to you too, because it's pretty important. We're here to change this world, but before we can change the world, we have to change ourselves. So this poem, it's very short, see, just very short. And I called it World Change or Me Change. And here I go. The world will not change until we change our perception of it. We never, hardly ever look at how we see things. We still call things good and bad. We fluctuate between the two. One day we're up, one day we're down, because we don't understand. There is perfection in the process. We don't really know what anything is for, but we think we do. And we don't know that we don't know. Okay, I'm going to not subject you to any more poems right now because all the rest of them are very long ones. And this is the Dove Lady, and thank you for listening. Over and out for now.